Welcome to Thrive at the Top, the podcast for leaders navigating high-pressure environments who want to move beyond surface-level solutions and rethink resilience, leadership, performance, and what it really takes to sustain people at the highest level. I'm your host, Mabel Munyamani, workplace mental health strategist, human performance risk advisor, and founder of 𝑀𝒆𝒂𝒕 Wellbeing Global. And today, I want to share something that genuinely stayed with me after attending the Aerospace Medical Association conference, ASMA, because I sat in rooms listening to conversations that honestly reinforced something we've been saying for a long time. And that is, the higher the risk profile of the role, the stronger the system around people needs to become. Not weaker, not reactive, not generic, stronger. So one of the sessions I sat in was the NASA's presentation on astronaut selection. And the numbers alone stopped me for a second. So, over 8,000 applications. That number was eventually narrowed down to around 120 interviews. Then 40 finalists. And eventually, 10 astronauts selected. Think about that for a moment. Psychological screening, behavioral assessments, stress testing, cognitive evaluation, team simulations, leadership assessment, communication under pressure, resilience, fellowship, self-regulation, small group living. The process is rigorous. And honestly, it should be, because we are talking about human beings operating environments with almost no margin for error. But here's what struck me most. It wasn't the selection process. It was the realization that came after it. Because if NASA invests this much into selecting the right people, the bigger question becomes, what happens after selection? How do we sustain the performance? And how do we support these people? And how do we protect the humans carrying extraordinary levels of responsibility? Because selection and sustainability are not the same thing. So one of the mistakes I think many industries make, especially high-performing industries, is assuming that high capability somehow removes human vulnerability. It doesn't. A highly capable person can still experience fatigue, grief, stress, relationship strain, burnout, cognitive overload, isolation, moral pressure, decision fatigue, psychological distress, and I kept hearing versions of this throughout the conference. Not just from NASA, but from the military professionals, flight surgeons, aviation psychologists, medical examiners, people working with pilots, people supporting operators in environments where mistakes matter. Because when the stakes are high, the cost of degradation is too high. And this is where I think we have a major blind spot. We recruit exceptional people. We train exceptional people. We expect exceptional performance, right? But often, we surround them with very average systems of support. Let me say that again. We expect elite performance while surrounding people with average support systems. And that disconnect becomes dangerous. Because the higher the risk profile, the more robust the support infrastructure needs to be. If somebody is operating aircraft, managing safety-critical decisions, making mission-critical calls, working in environments with little room for error, then support cannot be treated like a nice-to-have thing. It becomes operational. It becomes strategic. It becomes part of safety. So here's the big question aviation is asking. One of the most fascinating workshops I attended explored something aviation is wrestling with right now. And that is this question. How do we measure mental fitness? Because traditional safety management systems, the SMS, works very well for mechanical risks, technical faults, operational hazards, incident reporting. But human performance, psychological readiness, cognitive strain, fatigue accumulation, disclosure fear, trust, that becomes harder. And what was interesting was hearing leaders openly acknowledge the current system may not be enough. That was huge. Because for years, mental health has sat in this separate conversation, HR conversations, well-being conversations. But what I kept hearing at this conference was something different. The conversation was shifting towards human performance sustainability. How do we sustain reliable performance over time? This is a very different question. Another thing that stayed with me was a phrase used in one of the discussions. They called it preventative maintenance. And immediately I thought, that is exactly the conversations we should be having. Because think about aviation. We do not wait for an aircraft to fail before maintenance. We inspect it, we monitor it, we intervene early. We anticipate degradation, right? We understand that reliability must be protected. Yet, when it comes to people, too often we wait for the incident, the burnout, the grounding, the crisis, the disclosure, the performance issue, the resignation, the breaking point, and then we call that support. But support after collapse is not prevention. It is recovery. And high-risk industries cannot afford to rely only on recovery. So what NASA reinforced for me was this. Even the highest level of human performance support systems still matter. Maybe even more. Because if somebody has been selected to operate in one of the most demanding environments imaginable, spacelift, then surely the question is not, are they resilient enough? The question then becomes, have we built systems robust enough to sustain them? I think aerospace is asking the same question. Military is asking the same question. And increasingly, airlines, airports, flight academies, and safety leaders are asking the same question too. So I'm going to put on my MMCWG lens. At Complete Wellbeing Global, this reinforces something we strongly believe. The answer is not more awareness posters. It's not one-off well-being initiatives. This is what we've been saying all along. And it's definitely not checking in once a year and assuming people are okay. Because high-risk environments require better systems, stronger leadership capability, psychological safety, trust, early intervention, fatigue support, clear escalation pathways, peer support, behavioral health infrastructure, human performance governance. Because when the margin for error becomes smaller, the system around people must become stronger. So, in closing, let me leave you with this question. If your workforce operates in environments where mistakes carry consequences, where performance matters, and where people are carrying enormous responsibility, then ask yourself, does the level of support actually match the level of risk? Because we cannot continue asking people to perform at elite levels in high-pressure environments with minimum room for error, while surrounding them with low-level systems of support. The higher the risk profile, the stronger the system around people must become. Thank you for joining me for this episode of Thrive at the Top. If this conversation resonated with you, share this episode with someone leading teams in aviation, aerospace, or another high-risk environment. And if your organization is beginning to rethink human performance, fatigue, psychological safety, or operational resilience, connect with us, because this is exactly the work we are helping organizations navigate. And until next time, take care and keep building systems that help people thrive at the top.